order to gain an insight into the prognosis and recovery of schizophrenia, it is firstly important to understand the nature and definition of recovery. The term recovery is complex, as it is not a uniform process. It varies for each individual. It may be categorized into clinical or objective recovery, or a personal, subjective recovery. This is significant as health professionals, as we may stipulate recovery as merely the absence of clinical symptoms, whereas consumers have indicated that they are able to self-determine their recovery even when psychotic symptoms are persistent. Clinical recovery may be defined as the remission of psychotic symptoms and return to pre-illness level of functioning. Remission of the Schizophrenia Working Group classifies remission as improvements to the patient's signs and symptoms in a way that allows them to no longer interfere significantly with the patient's behaviour. However, personal recovery may encompass the individual's independence and low social disruption. The Remission of Schizophrenia Working Group speaks of personal recovery by explaining that recovery encompasses not only being free from disease-related psychopathology, but the individual should be able to return to functioning in the community, socially and professionally. Additionally, from a consumer perspective, recovery can be categorized as a newfound meaning and purpose beyond the catastrophic results of mental illness. It draws on concepts of hope, self-identity, and personal responsibility for the recovery process. Whilst these definitions are contrasting, they are both significant in the recovery process for individuals living with schizophrenia. It is both the responsibility of the individual and the healthcare practitioner to aid the recovery process. As a healthcare practitioner, it is important to engage with consumers living with schizophrenia to understand their personal experience. This will enable effective implementation of elements of mental health recovery policies. It is the responsibility of the healthcare workers to explore the strengths of that individual and recognise protective factors that will enable the recovery process. As for the prognosis of schizophrenia, an Australian national survey conducted in 2010 revealed that approximately 6% of consumers with schizophrenia experience a single episode of psychosis followed by a favourable recovery. 54.8% of consumers experience multiple episodes of psychosis with good or partial recovery between these episodes, and 38.8% of participants showed a continuous course of deterioration. In order to improve this prognosis, treatment and management strategies, self-care and supportive strategies, as mentioned earlier, can engage consumers to have a favourable outcome. Effective management of schizophrenia involves a combination of factors. The positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia create attention disturbances, disconnection, and impact the consumer's ability to deal with the daily demands of living. In addition to pharmacology, accessing support and acquiring coping skills can create a greater capacity for them to manage stress, create meaningful goals, and increase social engagement.